And hello, it's me. It's that double G, and it is the Absolute Football Podcast. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And it's a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day, and it's not just me. I'm not alone. And one of my wonderful hosts I've got with me, she never misses a beat. She's lightning on her feet, and that's what they don't see. And that's what they don't see, because the players are going to play. And the haters are going to hate. But baby, she's going to shake it off. Charlotte, how are you? Shaking it off.
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, I'm shaking it off, flip reversing it.
She's a winner. And she might be fantastic, but somebody who has probably spent every game week so far this Premier League season asking, are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods? Are we out of the woods? Are we in the clear? Are we in the clear? No, you're not, Sam. You are not in the clear, but you are here with us. How are you, Mr. Ducks?
I'm here again. So right, I've got my nice cuppa today. I've got my Lime Rich tea mug to see me through tonight, so it'll be all right. I'm doing well.
Superb times. And you will notice it is not just the three amigos with us. It is not. We've got a special first timer with it, and we're going to ask, is it going to be forever, or is it going to go down in flames? You can tell us when it's over if the high was worth the pain. Rebecca, how are you joining us for the first time on the podcast?
I'm good, thank you. Very excited.
Oh, it is. Isn't it exciting? I'm excited every time I come on to see these people. And having you here with us for the first time is very, very exciting, because it'll either go really well or it won't. Isn't that exciting? We just don't know.
That's just us on a general, isn't it? That's just me in general anyway in life.
Anything could happen. And in the chat, we've got Claire. Hello, Claire. Thank you for joining us.
Where's Claire? She's watching a pod.
Where's Claire? She's doing her hair in her underwear, watching the pod. Don't put that one on Thursday. No, we'll keep
that one down.
And there's Anthony. Hello to Anthony as well. And we've got Richard. Richard, hello. Thank you for joining us. And Luke in the chat as well. Thank you for joining us. Anthony thinks I should do a Chris Rea. I would do, and I wouldn't do it the same justice that Anthony did. If you haven't seen that in the Absolutely Lower League podcast, was it last week? Is it last week or the week before? He did a beautiful driving home for Christmas. It was superb. Very exciting times. And we've got Cap Allen as well. Alan, thank you for joining us. And Mr. Luke, see Josh back on my screen after a while. What a beautiful sight. Do you know what? That's what I've got for you. My wife would beg to differ massively. She's working nights and loving it at the moment. So I appreciate that. Claire said, Charlotte, you need to up your intro game. You need more lyrics or singing or you can't have limericks. Sam's got limericks. And Anthony's asking, where's Claire? She's over there. There's Claire. And there's Callum as well. Look at all these people live in the chat. Callum, thank you for joining us. And Heather as well. I'm going to start the podcast at some point. We're going to get into something. But for all of our audio listeners, for everybody listening on the audio platforms like Spotify and Amazon Music and Google, first of all, give us a 5-star rating. Make sure you are following. But why not join us live? Why not join us live at 8:30 on YouTube and Twitch, where you can be part of the chat and the conversation? And where should we start the conversation today? I think let's start it on a positive. We'll start it on a high. I think, Charlotte, you could tell us. Bournemouth, Heather's here. Bournemouth won the game of football. Bournemouth 2, Burnley 1. Charlotte, how did that make you feel?
Do you know what? Like, going into this game, it was a 6-pointer for both teams. But I feel like there was a lot more pressure on Bournemouth's manager, because there was rumours midweek of him, like, will he get the sack? Won't he get the sack? So, yeah, it was a definite 6-pointer for both teams. But, Bournemouth started really, really brightly. I just want to wave as well.
We're just waving. For anybody who didn't pick up this, because the Fools Rush in, they are joining us as well. Thank you for coming in. But I didn't want to cut you off in your stride, Charlotte.
Oh, no, don't worry.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, Bournemouth did start very, very brightly, but then Burnley took the lead. Charlie Taylor fired in from the edge of the box. A really good goal. I don't know if anyone has seen it, but it is a good goal. 11 minutes after, I don't want to get the name wrong. Antoine, is it
Semenyo?
Semenyo? Yeah. It sounds like Circle of Life, doesn't it? Semenyo! Yeah,
Hey, let's just
he equalised with a great finish from into the bottom corner. And then, despite Burnley have a lot of possession, I think it was only ever going to be Bournemouth who were going to create the chances. And it was Heather's favourite, Philip Billing, who actually got the winner for Bournemouth. A fantastic goal as well. He actually saw the keeper off his line and he fired it from, I think it was 40 yards, fired it in, went straight in. Fantastic goal. And obviously, Bournemouth getting a 3 points, but there was something very controversial at the end of the game. They did equalise Burnley, and it was marginally offside, and I mean like really, really closely offside. But as controversial as VAR is, it took 5 minutes to actually come to the actual decision that it was offside. So yeah, Vincent Kompany wasn't a very happy man at all, and I think he had a rant after the game. I think I saw him have a rant. So
it was wonderful. Wasn't it good? The man that said to Liverpool, yeah, you just got to get on with it. Human errors happen. Just move on, Liverpool. Yeah, just get over it. Well, Vincent, take that, Megamind. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was an absolute great win for obviously Bournemouth. Like I said, Burnley had a lot of possession, but the more attacking and creative chances were Bournemouth, and they were only going to look like scoring. And yeah, I'm really happy for Bournemouth, to be fair. Obviously, it's very frustrating from a Burnley point of view because I think they needed the points also. And as I said before, 6-pointer for both teams. But Bournemouth won, and obviously it puts a lot of it's not as under pressure now, their manager, because there was a lot of people saying he was due to get the sack as well. A lot of rumours flying around. So, yeah, nice weekend for Heather.
Yeah, she could enjoy. I mean, do you think? I mean, it is one win. Did you see enough in that one win though to think, ooh, maybe they're trading the corner here, or was it just a scrappy win? How did it feel? Did it feel like a proper turning point?
I don't really know because, like I said, watching the game, Burnley did have a lot more ball, but Bournemouth were more creative. Obviously, there was a lot more attacking, and I think there was a lot of positives for Bournemouth to take out of it, and even the fact that obviously they ended up winning. I know it was obviously VAR that contributed as well, because obviously it could have been a draw. VAR did contribute, but it was offside, only by margins, but it was offside, to be fair. But yeah, just some type of wins, and especially around teams around and about you. I think it will be a struggle for Bournemouth this season. I think your Burnleys, your Lutons, your Sheffield Uniteds, they'll all be near the bottom, but they're the games you have to win. They're the games you need to win to obviously survive.
I did in the chat, Anthony's comment, I really like the Bournemouth manager. I don't know anything about him. He just seems like a really nice fella. That is exactly how I do my football analysis.
Honestly, the thing is with Bournemouth as well, which is quite sad, like your lower teams, you don't really see much of their managers. It's always like the higher teams and the personalities like that. And for someone like Bournemouth's manager and stuff, like I've seen interviews, but I couldn't actually, apart from the last game, I couldn't actually tell you what it looks like because you don't see much of him at all.
I've seen him with a jumper once. I think has he worn a jumper at some point? That might be the guy. I look at the chat. Bournemouth winning. You cannot write that. You can't. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk Bournemouth could win a game of football? And Anthony's saying it's looking very likely all 3 promoted teams will be back in the Championship next season. At least they have the parachute payment, so that's nice. Isn't that lovely that they
I
get
still
to
have
have
faith
that?
in Luton. Still have faith in Luton.
Small as a mustard seed, you know. Faith as small
I'm
as a
wearing
mustard seed.
orange. Sam's supporting him too. Look at him.
It's like a little tangerine. And Alex Scott is fire, according to Heather there as well. I mean, but something she did touch on, you know, is this a turning point for Bournemouth? Their next couple of games are Liverpool in the League Cup, Man City away, and Newcastle at home.
I hope so with them 3 teams. I really hope it's a turning point for him.
I mean, that's not very nice. Those aren't some nice games.
Especially the first one.
Yeah, I mean, by the time they get to 25th of November, they get to play Sheffield United potentially for some respite before going to play at Villa. Dear me. I mean, are they going to get any points against Man City or Newcastle before that United game, or do you think they'll be in the same position they are now at this point?
Football's football at the end of the day. You never know. You can never write it. Obviously, we've seen teams in the past, the teams near the bottom taken from the higher teams at the top. Football is football. Hypothetically speaking, you wouldn't expect it. Just from the league positions, obviously the quality in players, you wouldn't expect it. But never say never.
I love it. Just the blind optimism is beautiful. I thoroughly appreciate it. And it's Martin in the chat. Thank you for joining us, Martin. It's lovely to have you here. But on the flip side, on the flippity flop, on the flip reverse, Sam. Yes, they weren't very happy over at Burnley, were they? Are they going to do anything at any point to benefit themselves in the Premier League?
Sorry, Claire's comment.
Yeah, we are very scary. It's Halloween. We've gone very scary indeed. Very scary. Are Burnley going to do anything this season? I think it comes down to whether company can soften some of, I think, his principles and the way that he's playing in some of these games to grind things out. I mean, it was mistakes that cost them against Bournemouth, the goals that they conceded. I mean, I say Philip Billing goal was fantastic. I wrote audacious. I love the word audacious. I was like, if a goal's audacious for me, it's top draw. But it was silly. It was silly from Burnley's perspective. Keeper was way high and they gave it away in a very silly position. So they caused their own downfalls. Silly. Very silly.
Silly.
And they're conceding silly goals, and silly goals are going to kill you in this league. Silly goals. They've also, I think, this is the third time they've now lost a game from a winning position, which is more than any other team in the Premier League.
And that's very silly.
That's very silly indeed. I mean, stop being silly, I think, is the strategic analysis to that. And they might be all right. Survive if you stop being silly.
Exactly. I mean, and Shawnee's saying, silly Billy.
Oh, silly Vinny. For Vincent Company. Silly Vinny.
It only works with the northern accent.
Silly Vinny.
Silly Billy. Oh, silly Vinny. Silly Vinny. I clear said we all concede silly goals. We do. I've conceded many a silly goal. I've scored a silly own goal. Anthony in the chat said he thinks the Newcastle versus Bournemouth, by the way, is the nice fella derby. It's a nailed on draw.
Yeah.
And if anybody's wondering, I turned my heating on in my house earlier. It became really hot in my room. The lights very hot, so I opened the window and a bug has flown in here and he's trapped. So if I occasionally look like I'm having a tick or I'm about to flip my screen off, that's why. I'm not going mental. That's what's going on. But Burnley's next game, I mean, they've got the most exciting team to play in the Premier League of Crystal Palace before they go away to Arsenal. I mean, are they good? Do you think they could do anything against the Premier League's most boring team in the Crystal Palace?
Palace can be tricky. They tend to be very difficult for the lower parts of the league to get past. They struggle against the top, and then they seem to be sort of quite open against they beat the bottom quite well. But who knows? At some stage, you've got to think Burnley can click in and play some of the football that we saw. I know it's Championship. There's a level up in terms of what they're playing. But I think one of the big problems they've got is just how many players they've had to bed in. I mean, last season they signed, I think I saw 15 players. Then, no, 6. They brought in, 15 players this year and 16 players the previous year as well. That's 31 players over the space of 12, 15 months. That's so silly. That's so much to try and bed into a team. And a lot of them are young players as well. It's a new league company. There's just a lot of things going into that melting pot. So you need some experience to get you out of it. And things like VAR calls and that seem to go against you when you're struggling anyway. So they'll feel like they're hard done by. Maybe companies trying to use that as a, look, they're against us kind of siege mentality. But they've got to play better. That's the bottom line of it. And Palace won't give you, I know Palace have conceded quite a few in the last few weeks, but usually they're quite defensively difficult to get through. So tough one for Burnley. But everything's tough for Burnley at the moment.
I mean, they fly. They are quite an ugly team to play at the moment. Crystal Palace. I mean, do you see? I mean, Charlotte. Before we move on, did you see anything from Burnley that they can do something, or do you think he's just too stubborn and too silly to make a difference?
think if he's going to change something, he needs to try something new out quick, because obviously even the teams around him, they're not really gaining many points from them either. So I think he does need to change things quick, because as we've seen with the Premier League, especially when you're one of the teams who have just come up, you don't have much time. Like, you have to try and adapt. And I don't think the way he's playing, the way he's playing at the minute, I don't think he's doing them any favours. I have seen glimpses of quality from them, and I think they do have some good players. But as Sam said, they're a very young team. They've got a lot of championship players as well, and I just think it's a step up for them, like too much of a step up. Don't know, but I have seen some glimpses, to be fair.
Yeah, they've got some good players, and it's the same thing with Norwich. When they come up, they try to play this wonderful attacking free football, and it's the Premier League. You're not good enough when you've just been promoted from the Championship. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been in the Championship. And something does need to with that. There's unnerving times for Burnley, wonderful times for Bournemouth, and isn't that nice? And in the chat as well, Lisa has joined us. Good evening, Lisa. Hope you're doing well. And Anthony is saying Burnley tried to sign Jack Clark from Sunderland for 9 million. Would have got his hairdresser for that. That's just silly. Don't be so silly. And Alan is agreeing. Silly amount of signing, silly goals conceded, silly Billy Burnley. It's all very, very silly. But something that wasn't very silly and made some people happy was Everton won a game of football. Oh my days. Rebecca, West Ham 0, Everton 1. How did that game make you feel?
Oh, it was brilliant to see us back winning after the events of the Merseyside derby, but won't go too much into that. But it's great to see Dom back scoring with his current run at the moment. It's just really good to have him back. We've needed him. Jared Brantwaite, don't know what PSV did to him, but I would like to thank them. He's back a totally different player, and it is amazing to see. The partnership between him and Tarkowski is brilliant. To keep a clean sheet as well. We've had our ups and downs with our defence, injuries, just mistakes, Michael Keane, but it's one of them. It was really good to see.
It was. I mean, and to be fair, it was a very more of a clinical performance. I think our favourite, the pod favourite, old Dicey. Oh, we love a bit of Dicey. And he went on for a while about how Everton's XG, the XG. Oh, if you played for XG, you guys would be top of the table. But he's quietly, very, very quietly been turning in a couple of tidy performances and flipping points. I mean, you should have beat Luton. That was a bit silly. But there's been some more solid performances coming recently, and there's been a bit up and down. Do you think potentially now you've got Burnley, silly Burnley, you've got in the League Cup, and then you've got Brighton, but then you have Crystal Palace. You've got 3 games where I think you should beat silly Burnley, surely. But then Brighton at home, though, how are you feeling for these next couple of games? Do you think that this could possibly help give you the momentum and the GU up that they need?
I think it could. We just need to pick up on our home form a bit more. We seem to have been doing better away, which is different to previous seasons. But good run in the cup Wednesday will really help us get the crowd back behind and just see if we can keep pushing, especially with the news of this week with the FFP. As many points as we can get, the better.
Yeah, I mean, on that, we'll speak very briefly on that. I can't see them doing anything this season. Surely to God. I mean, how long are they going to take to investigate the breaches of Man City? And this is a Man City rant, but the fact that they've said that's not going to be this season. Surely to God, they can't say to Everton, by the way, we picked this up, and in half an hour we're going to give you a shot there. Are you nervous at all, or do you think that this will drag out a while?
A bit undecided, because apparently we have been under investigation previous to this, but we were found not guilty of anything. So for it to come back up and it's like, oh, didn't really expect this, but we just got to wait and see. But I think with the potential 12 points that has been mentioned, I think that would be quite harsh. But
yeah, that would be a little
a waiting game.
It would be, but I mean, on the positive, I mean, you did say Dominic Calvert-Lewin scoring and Dom saying his swivel was majestic. Let's just admire that a moment. Wasn't that a beautiful goal? Are you able to describe that eloquently, or you just want to tell us it was beautiful?
It was a beautiful goal. It was won by Jared Branthwaite in midfield. There was a VAR check to see if it was a foul, but nothing came of it. And then it's a nice little turn from Dom and slotted it in back at net.
It was Cruyff turn here, man. It's been a while. Has he scored much this season? I can't remember him scoring prior to that. No, I thought it was nice.
Might have been his second. He did get. I thought he did maybe get one, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was strictly Dom dancing. That was a beautiful pirouette.
Do you know what is a positive as well? I saw Jack Harrison were playing, and obviously I really think he's a good player. Like obviously watching him when he was at Leeds, so I think that's someone you definitely need in your team. If hopefully him and Dominic Calvert-Lewin stay fit, I think that's a massive plus because Jack Harrison's such a good player, especially creating wise.
I mean, he was subbed off, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. To your knowledge, was that just a oh my god, please don't hurt him, let's take him off the pitch so he can play next week, or was it safety, or did something actually happen?
I think it was just we had the 1-0, rest him, get him as fit as we possibly can do. But it's really good to see, be excited to see Beto or Chimetti coming on rather than sitting there who've we got? So it's really good to see the excitement on the bench.
I mean, and Sam, I mean, West Ham, they huffed and puffed, but they just couldn't blow the door down, could they?
They could not blow the door down. No, they're a funny one at the minute, aren't they, West Ham? They've had some poor home performances at times. They started off really well. They went off 100 mile an hour, and it was like, okay, this is the West Ham I remember from years ago. They'd taken the Conference League, and then they just, I don't want to say it again, but they chuck a silly result in, don't they?
Silly. Everyone's so silly.
Everyone's being so silly tonight. Yeah, they're disappointing themselves, I think, with that home form. Is it Europe starting again? Is getting that distraction? I don't know. They're a hard one to predict. I mean, they seem to have some very, very exciting players in that attacking lineup. I mean, they started Paquetá, and they had Kudus playing as well. They've dropped Ward-Prowse further back now, so they've still got some creativity from there. So there should be enough to kind of get through. But no, I did see Mikel Antonio started every minute so far this season. He's still, the number 9 for West Ham for at least the last 25 years. I think they switched Ian Dowie with Mikel Antonio. I can't remember another striker.
And he isn't broken yet, either. Normally he's broken by this point of the season. I mean, West Ham, I mean, they've got Arsenal in the League Cup next. Yeah, but then they've got Brentford. These are some interesting fixtures. They've got West Ham in the League Cup, Brentford in the Premier League, then Olympiacos, and then Nottingham Forest, then silly Burnley, and then back at Topola. I don't know who they are. And then before the Crystal Palace in December. So they've got some fixtures which are up and down fixtures that for the up and down form. It's a bit unnerving. Do you think they're going to have any form of consistency, or do you think it's going to remain up and down silly West Ham?
It might be a little bit like this, yeah. I think they'll put a run together and everybody will be like, okay, suddenly West Ham will appear probably in the top 8 or something or other, and then maybe lose a couple and drop down again into mid-table is kind of what I'm expecting of them. I mean, they sit for me in that kind of bracket just behind, Aston Villa, Brighton, and all of, the teams that you'd expect, we'll come on to United and Chelsea, I'm sure, but expect maybe they might be able to sneak back up there. But at the minute, they're in there with West Ham. West Ham, it only takes a couple of wins, West Ham. Yeah. If they get Europe done, the group stages early, then obviously they've got a bit of a break until that comes back as well. And that will be when they need to really push on, I think. Because if they're back in it in the back end of the season, that's kind of where everything got a bit distracted for them last season.
Do you not think in general, though, the Premier League's going to be like that this season? Because you see so many teams now and the players they've got, the more attacking and things like that. I just think, you can't really call the league positions because there's so much happening at the minute, and it's just so random, isn't it, this season? And I think it's going to be one of them. And you think, oh yeah, they're on a good run, and then they can lose a few games and other teams. And I think it's going to be very much like that, because it's like your Brentfords, your Brightons, as we mentioned. I just think it is very open, the Premier League, especially at the minute.
They're all in it for sure. I think if you take that bottom 3 off and say the top 4 at the minute, and say probably Villa, actually, you take that 5, then I wouldn't trust any of those teams not to beat the other team on their day. You can certainly get that. Even teams like, Fulham put up a really good performance against Brighton at the weekend. Teams like that, they can be a nightmare. Crystal Palace will turn teams over now and again at Selhurst Park. There's so many teams, you're right, that it could be up and down anywhere, depending on the day and depending on what happens.
I mean, and Anthony's saying, I think Shara's onto something that does feel like the YOLO Premier League season. I mean, if we want to talk topsy-turvy, let's talk topsy-turvy, because top of the league and still unbeaten, Tottenham Hotspur beat Crystal Palace 2-1. Shah, it was an ugly game, really. I think Tottenham sort of winning ugly with beautiful handball, apparently. But do you see this continuing for Spurs?
I think it's a result that Spurs in previous seasons wouldn't have got. And to be fair, don't get me wrong, I actually watched the game and it was an absolute snooze fest. I will admit, I fell asleep towards the end. And then that's when the excitement happened, I think. But I think with Tottenham at the minute, they just seem so together, and they seem positive, and Tottenham haven't been like that in a while, especially under Conte and then Mourinho before that. And I think with Ange, even though it might not be like the other game as we've seen it on Friday, it wasn't pretty football and they scraped a result out, they're still getting a result, which in previous seasons we've not seen that. No. And it's been really toxic and stuff. So I'm hoping, to be fair, because it'll make it a lot more interesting for football than the Premier League. But I just think the players, and if Maddison or Son get an injury, I think then they might struggle. And obviously we've seen Manchester City, they've struggled apart from apart from the other result, they have struggled, haven't they? That wasn't a dig, by the way.
It was. She's so mean.
No, I'm not. He knows it's not. My kid's a Man United fan, so I can't dig. But they've obviously scraped results, and then obviously they've been losing points, haven't they, Manchester City? Hence why they're not top. But I think with their squad, I still think Manchester City will win it. But yeah, Tottenham, you can't fault them at the minute. Who would have thought bringing in a manager from Celtic? I mean, looking at the appointment, I thought...
You're so mean about Celtic.
No, I'm not.
She's been horrible to everyone.
You all went me on my opinion. At the start of the season, I thought bringing someone in from Celtic, as we've seen it with Steven Gerrard from Rangers, once you bring someone from the Scottish Premier League, it's a whole different league, isn't it, the Premier League? And some managers can find it tough. Some managers don't. Like we've seen Brendan Rodgers, for instance, with Leicester and stuff. He was okay, and then obviously he tailed off. But with certain managers that come up from the Scottish Premier League, they can struggle. But with him straight away, he's kind of found his feet. He's impressing all of us from outside fans. He's got this positive aura about him, and obviously it's rubbing off on the players. Son as captain, and I feel like Son this season is a whole new player. And I personally think Harry Kane and selling Harry Kane has been the making of Tottenham as well.
Billy said that, didn't he? If you remember, I think one of the earlier episodes, Billy said selling Harry Kane, he was pleased that he did it because he felt he was a bit toxic in the dressing room.
I think as well with Harry Kane, I don't know if it was because he was toxic. I don't know, because I don't really follow Spurs. He'll have a better idea. But I think it's always like, oh, will he go? Will he stay? You're always reliant on Kane. He's always playing. But with him now leaving, they've just had to embrace it. They've signed James Maddison, who I think is an absolute bargain. And at the minute, one of the players of the season, without a doubt. And for the price he got him for, he's been brilliant. Son's had to step up, which he has as well. So I honestly think Richarlison, to be fair, Richarlison's performances recently have been better. And I really do think it's because new manager, new positivity, and Harry Kane's not there. So they're having to
I agree. I
embrace
think
it and get on with it.
attitude matters a lot. I think Alex is saying the season that Kane leaves, this happens. Anthony's saying the chat Maddison for 40 million is a signing of the season. And I agree, if he keeps it up, he doesn't have to keep this up all season, but for 70% of it, totally. Kane out, Maddison in, worth a shout for England too. And again, the same Big Andrew's so likable. Lots of chat here, loving it. Anthony's telling us Walter Smith really struggled at Everton when he left Rangers. Strachan wasn't great in England either. And Craig has said Tottenham's one of those clubs who don't like to work with a big ego named managers like Conte, Mourinho. Ange had a point to prove.
Exactly.
And Anthony said, yes, Alex Ferguson chat was dreadful at the Scottish League. But no, I agree. I'll be honest. I mean, I didn't have a lot of faith in Ange at the start of the season, coming from the leagues that he has, obviously in Australia and then over in Scotland. I didn't think he'd do well. But I think environment, atmosphere, accounts for a lot of. If people are happy, who would have thought if they're happy, people play better. I mean, I'm a little bit apprehensive person. I don't think they've been challenged especially well at the moment. I mean, I think that the game against Liverpool, which would have been the first task, was spoiled, and that was just a waste of a football match. I think we should have just thrown that one away and started again. But they have got. I was going to say this is a challenge. The next game's against Chelsea.
They've been playing well, though, to be fair. All Chelsea are missing is a striker. I think apart from that, Chelsea have been playing some good stuff. Do
you think that'll be... in my head, I'd like to think that would be a test for them ordinarily that we can see. So do you think it's that game? Or do you think
Pochettino against his old club, so we'll have a point to prove as well.
Yeah, because I didn't know whether we'd have to wait till the end of November when they play Aston Villa and then Man City and then Newcastle, which will be the real tester. But do you think potentially this Chelsea game is going to be an early one for them?
Probably. I mean, Arsenal, to be fair, was the first big test. I mean, they came out of there pretty well, didn't they? Chelsea are one of those. They can turn up on the day. The consistency's not there with them, but they showed against Arsenal last week. They'll be up for games like that. So Tottenham will have to deal with people who've got their eye on them now. Now everyone's seen the first 10 games and go, okay, you can't muck around with Tottenham. We're going to have to look at the way Ange plays and we're going to have to really deal with it. But it's the City one I'm really interested for, because historically Tottenham have always been their bogey team. Even when Tottenham was struggling, it would always be Tottenham that sort of, would get a 1-0 win out at City, or they'd always struggle there. So if there's something on that could be really interesting. But yeah, Chelsea could do them. You never know.
I'm sort of looking for. I'm interested to see what happens. I think Anthony says he thinks Ange's given clubs food for thought. Successful managers from the Eastern leagues can actually replicate that. They're hidden gems. I mean, if you look at Arsene Wenger came from Japan. I think it was France. Then he went to Japan. Then he came over to Arsenal. And look at the wonderful things that he did. Luke said he's enjoying Chelsea being mid-table. And
just answering Heather's question as well. They signed Nkunku, and he got a bad injury, so he was obviously meant to be the striker. Yeah. They've kind of built around him, but obviously he got injured, and I thought he would have been perfect, to be fair, because he's a very good striker. And I think that's all. I did see a rumour.
I don't think he's too far away either. I saw something.
Oh no!
Maybe, he might be back sooner than expected.
Don't worry, Poch is managing them, so they'll fall short. Don't worry, that's fine. They're not going to do too much damage there. But before we go on to the other London side, I mean, did anybody see Roy Hodgson sticking it to the kids in his comments after the game? Did anybody see this? So in the second half, they were struggling a bit, Crystal Palace. So he brought 3 players off and brought on 3 young players. I'm going to see if I've got their names here, because they're young players I've never heard of before. No, I can't even say them. They're words, they're names I can't. Jean-Philippe Mateta, Amahada, and Baksakia. They're young kids coming through the development squad of Crystal Palace.
Mateta's not that young, is he? Mateta's been there a while, isn't he?
I don't recognise the name, Sam. They're all young players, and I don't look at Crystal Palace.
He's about to retire. He's about to have his testimonial. I'm joking.
Well, yeah, so they brought 3 young players on, and Roy Hodgson said something along the lines of, "We brought these 3 young players on because we thought that they could give us something, thought that they could bring us some energy into the squad, but they didn't. In fact, we looked worse after bringing them on."
Just a 26-year-old young player, Jean-Philippe Mateta.
It might be the other ones that we're talking about. I tell you, I'm gonna look them up now because you mocking me. A young lad who's 21. The one chap. Who's the other one? The other
You
one.
think of Mateus Franco instead?
It might be Mateus Franco. He's 19. So there's a 21-year-old, a 19.
Presume you don't mean Nathaniel Klein.
No, definitely not Nathaniel Klein. Definitely not Nathaniel Klein. 2 21-year-olds and a 19-year-old, and he gave them absolute grief and said they need to try better, they need to perform better if they're going to make a difference, but I'm sure they'll be fine. So
it's frustrating, Palace, though, because me and Sam were saying last week, looking at the stats and stuff, they have so many chances, but none of them are on target. And I just think to myself, if they had a finisher, they'd be a little bit better. But obviously, Zaha's departed, and
well, they're missing Michael Elise like massively because I think he got double-figure assists last season. I think Eze's out again as well, 100%. Isn't he? So those 2 are massive for them, and they're just without them. Yeah, it's Jeffrey Schlupp time.
Well, I just like the fact that Roy Hodgson went full on Scooby-Doo old man if it wasn't for those dastardly kids.
I would say he had to be brought out of a retirement for these. I mean, come on, step up for him. He was enjoying life on an island, drinking a cocktail, enjoying retirement, got a phone call, and they're not stepping up for him. So do you know what? I'm Team Roy. I'm going to get #Team Roy trending.
Hashtag Team Roy. Hakuna Mateta.
It was in a retirement home, Sam, weren't it? When you're covering for Liga, he's been there in a retirement home, and he's had to do
looking
that.
after Sevilla for a little bit.
Yeah, you leave Grandpa alone. Bless him. God blame me. I know. He bought extra Word originals just to take this job, and you all just mocking him in the performance. Terrible. But somebody else who was terrible was Sheffield United. Arsenal 5. Sheffield 0. Now, for me, you know that you're bad if Eddie Nketiah is scoring a hat-trick against you. But I mean, feel free. I'll ask you, Rebecca, did you catch any of this Arsenal-Sheffield United? Or did you just see the scoreline that like us and go, huh?
I watched some of the highlights of it. But Eddie Nketiah, I think he's going to come good for Arsenal. Seeing him play with England under 21s, he's their leading goal scorer, or was. I'm not sure if he's been taken over yet. But he does seem to be a very strong one to be up front for them. And then him getting a hat-trick in that match, it is against Sheffield United, but it is still good for him and good for his confidence to keep bouncing forward.
Yeah, because he got a lot. Was it last week or the week before? I think he's been getting a lot of grief off Arsenal fans. They've been questioned a lot. So the comeback to score that hat trick is. Although I did think I saw somebody comparing him against Diaz and somebody else. Is he that patience? He's only played one game. I mean, Sheffield United. I mean, were there any highlights that included Sheffield United doing anything other than kicking off or picking the ball up out of the net?
No, there weren't many.
Oh, no. Bless them.
That's their 9th loss. 9.
I mean, there's only been 10 games, isn't there? There's only 10 games so far. Oh, yeah. My hopeful fruit days. That is pretty diabolical. I mean, Shah, do you see anything from Sheffield United that could redeem them, or, as Anthony said earlier in the chat, they're back down?
I think they're back down. Obviously, the players they've signed and stuff, I just think they've got a lot of championship players. I think the next step up, there's certain teams, and I mentioned it on the Lower League podcast as well, there should be a team between a league between a championship and a premiership, because there's certain teams like your Norwiches, your Sheffield Uniteds, obviously now your Burnley kind of thing, where it's just yo-yo. And
Purgatory.
Yeah.
Purgatory league.
And I want to give some positives about Sheffield United, I think, but I can't because that's not me being mean. Like when I've seen them and I just don't really see much of them. And I just think it is because the lack of quality compared to obviously some of the other big teams and stuff. And they're not really getting points against the ones who should be getting points. And they might change it. You don't know. But at this moment in time, if you're losing 9 games out of 10,
yeah,
that just sums it up, doesn't it? To be fair,
doesn't sound very nice. I mean, I'm sort of, I agree with you, Shah. I think they just haven't purchased enough good to really do anything. I mean, Mr. Luke in the chat. Fun fact: Paul Heckingbottom is a former Gateshead player back in 2009, 2010. At the end of his career, turns out he's an awful Premier League manager.
I like his rants though. His rants were good.
I like his name, Heckingbottom. I think that's what I like. Funny words to say. And I think Craig was saying that Sheffield United, they've had tougher games than most. They've still got to play Burnley, Luton, and Bournemouth.
That is true.
So they could potentially pick up 9 points there. And I'm just catching out. I'm catching out of the chat. I'm just trying to catch up a minute. I'll bring it in a minute. I mean, Rebecca, Arsenal winning 5-0. Again, one of the only unbeaten teams. Arsenal and Spurs. There's something in the water in North London. Do you see them carrying this on at the moment from what you've seen throughout them so far on this season? Do you think they can keep on this unbeaten run? Maybe doing another invincible?
I'd like to see them stay as they are, have someone else challenging for the league other than just Man City running away with it. Whether they can, I think it's more keeping players fit, making sure that they've still got like your Odegaard, your Declan Rice. I think he's been a good signing for them. He's starting to settle in more now and he's been running the midfield quite a lot. It's just whether they can keep it going or we have a repeat of last season.
Yeah,
waiting and seeing because you just never know what's going to happen.
I mean, I think they've got who they got next in the Premier League. They've got Newcastle away, which will be interesting. I think that'll be a good measure and a good challenge for them before they go to the retirement village of Sevilla and then play silly Burnley. So, I mean, Sam, yeah. Oh.
Sorry, I saw a stat actually as well. And Arsenal, they're actually unbeaten in 36 home Premier League fixtures against the newly promoted teams. That was heading into the game. They've won 31 and they drew 5.
Oh my days.
That's a good. Bukayo Saka was captain as well, wasn't he, this weekend? Which for him at that age is pretty incredible as well.
That is some good stat game as well. There are some good, strong, solid statistical game. And Anthony said in the chat, Declan Rice might be the only 95 million bargain. And Heather said Odegaard didn't play this week. It's disaster for FPL. And Craig is saying Arsenal have to win this weekend if they want to challenge for the league. Good time to go against Newcastle United, which it could well be. But which games shall we cover, which we haven't done so far? Obviously, we're going to dress over some of them later on. But I think, is there anything interesting? Something we haven't done for a while, which we need to do. Chelsea 0, Brentford 2. We can all laugh at Chelsea together, which was wonderful to see. I mean, Sam, we'll only briefly touch on the Chelsea game. Any particular reason why they've reverted back to form of not being very good again?
Wasteful. They're wasteful. They're creating. They're playing. They're playing a way that is creating chances. They're just super wasteful and getting punished for things where they shouldn't be getting punished for. So Brentford are like that kind of team. They set up perfectly to kind of deal with that with Chelsea. And it was one of those, you're watching it as the game goes on, think Brentford going to nick one here. Chelsea kind of dominated, struggled to create anything too good in the second half. And then the more that kind of happened, the minute that Brentford got the first, you went, well, there you go. And then the goalkeeper decided that he's every goalkeeper at the minute seems to think they're brilliant from attacking a corner in every game. And I've seen quite a few that are getting punished in the last few weeks from going up. And there you go. Brentford have got a horrendous away record as well. So that's a poor loss for Chelsea.
It was. But I mean, and it's getting to that time, Sam. I've tried to delay it as long as humanly possible, because I'm treading delicately for my friend Sam, because it was Manchester United 0, Man City 3. How did that game make you feel?
Oh boy, yeah. How did it? I felt exactly the way that I felt I was going to feel going into the game. The only benefit of that being the last game of the weekend was I was able to enjoy my weekend up to that point and then sit down and go, better watch this, better get through this. Yeah, went as expected. Considering the lineup, actually, when I looked at the lineup and I saw the back four, Johnny Evans, Maguire, Lindelof at left back, Howard set up in the midfield. I mean, I don't think there's really something we could have put out, to be honest, that really would have troubled City over 90 minutes. But in the first half, defensively, okay, not too bad. We had a good sort of the first 10 minutes. Actually, we kind of had a couple of moments and we pressed on until City then settled, and then minutes City settled. That's when they were just in complete control. We were relying on a moment, as Man United have done all season. I'm sure we'll come on to the bigger issues with United all season, but that's what United are, is a moment. We were hoping for something on a break, a counter, something that kind of fell for us, a mistake. And they did make some mistakes early on. We got a bit of joy, actually. Fernandes was pressing Gvardiol in the first kind of 15, 20 minutes, and he played a couple of dodgy ones. And had we made the right decision or been better, well, then we might have nicked something to get ahead. But then the game just, I'd say we had the penalty, which then City converted. Soft, but ultimately not the reason we lost. So I won't go too much into it, because at the end of the day, there was bigger issues than the VAR call in that game for us. And then in the second half, as United have been in second half this season, just woeful, absolutely woeful. Tactically poor. The decision to take Amrabat off, which apparently wasn't injury, was tactical, was baffling, because we then pulled McTominay back. We lost all sorts of shape in the midfield, and City just pulled us apart. The second goal was really well worked by City, but with Bruno Fernandes at right back and Haaland unmarked on the back post, which is just suicidal. And City just toyed with us. It was like a training game at the end, and then United's discipline went and everything went to pot. So I'm not surprised, disappointed that it happened the way I thought it would, but there's just too much wrong. If you think of a list of everything that's wrong with United, if my shopping list was that big, my cupboards would be full, but my pockets would be bare. That's how big the list of issues is at Man United at the minute. Oh. So, yeah, just to summarise, deflating.
I mean, we'll touch on City. Obviously, I mean, City do what City do. I think the average person will be a fool to think that any team is going to go and give Man City a game and come out victorious. Obviously, they have. But as a rule of thumb, they're an annoyingly good team with an annoyingly large amount of good players on their bench. Some of them they don't even need. So I don't think... I think that a defeat against Man City is one of those. It'll happen to most of us. But I mean, the first thing that struck me was my understanding was Varane isn't necessarily injured. He just felt like Johnny Evans was the way to go in 2023. I mean, Sam, is Johnny Evans the way to go in 2023 over Raphael Varane?
No, I don't understand the comments. And there's been some comments, managers sometimes make comments and they don't say what they mean. That's maybe one thing. Maybe there is something else. There's a reason he's protecting. He doesn't want to save runs. Maybe that's the only thing I can think of, because there's no tactical reason why you would have Varane. He doesn't seem to like Varane and Maguire as a pair, but Evans, particularly at the end, I mean, the guy's had a fantastic career. He's been a very good defender. He's actually still quite good at playing out at the back with the ball. But and that game over the course of the game, I mean, he was sleeping for the third goal for City, because he'd generally been bloody worked hard all game. So
yeah.
But that one was shocking, and then also Reguilon as well. Lindelof is not a left back, and we've really lost the balance of the team by not having a left back over recent weeks, because the amount of times it kind of came to the left and then you're like, oh God, it's Lindelof out there. So there's nothing's going to happen there. And you're also losing Luke Shaw's overlaps that you used to have, which did give Rashford some more space. So that's another avenue that's cut out. Yes, if it's tactical, then either he's a tactical genius, which we've not seen much evidence of so far this season, or it's something completely else, because I don't really understand that, if I'm honest.
Because I mean, at the start of the, I'm sure it was at the start of the season, the episode where Hannah was with us, and I made a joke about Johnny Evans being in the team, as in the squad, and she's like, "No, he's just training. He's just getting match fitness."
He was supposed to be, yeah. That was he signed the short-term deal, and that's what it was. And then because they couldn't get Maguire out, and they wanted Maguire out, and I think Todibo in, I think was one of the links. Then they kind of went, well, you're here, so you'll have to do.
It's like looking around the dressing room, like
You're
some
defender.
guys walking through the car park. Hey, I recognise you. You were good once.
I
Get
saw an
over
interview,
here.
and he was as shocked as all the fans, I think, that he was offered a contract, because he didn't play very well on the tour either. He was abysmal in a friendly against Wrexham, but there you go.
There was a video. Oh, sorry. There was a video by Everton, and there was like someone in the background that said Johnny Evans is coming to us, and they had to quickly delete it when he was about to sign for United. So that was a bit random.
Yeah, it must have. Yeah, thought he had a deal, and then something got pulled at United's end, and ironically, he wasn't the biggest problem against City. But
No.
yeah, in terms of the level of where we're at, what we've got there, that's horrific. That's a horrific centre back.
And I mean, because and the big thing, I mean, the thing that, and it makes me sad a little bit. I might like to poke fun and have friendly rivalries, but in reality, I'm not an asshole. And I've been in your place. Obviously, last season it was every episode was about how bad Liverpool were doing, and I think we had a run up until Christmas where we were just. And in fairness, it was until like March that we started to perform well. But it just doesn't seem. I mean, and you've seen this. If anybody follows Sam on Twitter at the FM Ducks, they'll see he has noted that there's no plan. He doesn't seem to know what anyone should be doing. I mean, you've got Mount, who's a good midfielder, played in a position that he doesn't play in. Bruno Fernandes playing out on the wing, which is a position that he doesn't play in. And then, like you said, I mean, he brought off, who's it, Amrabat? Who come on for Amrabat? It was Mount for Amrabat. A change where McTominay was, who is one of the players who was actually doing okay. I mean, what I made a passing joke. It's almost as if Ten Hag sort of gone, do you know what? This Man United is just a mental club to be at. Stuff it. I'm just going to have a laugh. Hopefully, I'm going to get sacked, get the payout, and then go to somewhere else. What is going? Can you see anything that? What's happening tactically? Is just I can't understand it.
I was trying to watch and listen to some stuff yesterday, because I think it is baffling as everybody's kind of watching it, thinking, where are we? Where have we been going? Because if we go back to last season, probably up until the point they won the League Cup, we had a poor start, and we had a decent kind of run where we kind of found a bit of form. And it was when Rashford was absolutely flying in that kind of January to March period, and then we kind of turned off at the end of the season. But there were sort of signs in there where he was trying to turn us into more of a possession-based team. That seemed to be everything he said. And I can only imagine that was kind of what he sold to the dirty Glazers when he had his job interview. That's what he wanted to build. And then he was talking in pre-season like he's moving more to being in transition. He wants to be the best team in transition. But that's what Ollie Solskjaer was doing. That was the Solskjaer plan, was soak it up, bang on the break, not maintaining possession. And we've turned into a team that can't play out. But again, some of that's the centre-backs, is you've not got Martinez and Varane. That makes a huge difference. Casemiro too, although neither of those have been particularly good when they've played either. So it's not like, you can't just sort of say that's the excuse, because that's clearly not worked either. It doesn't seem to have any cohesion. The midfield doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't dislike Mason Mount, and I would have liked him for cheaper than we got him. We well overpaid for him. If it was kind of 20 million or something and it was an option, I'd have said, okay, that's fine. But you're buying a player that you've got him, you've got Eriksen, you've got Bruno. They don't fit in a conventional functional midfield. You've got to give other things away. And Eriksen can't play more than 60 minutes. I mean, Rodri walked past him for that sort of goal. And it seems every player we've got in there, they give you one thing and you have to sacrifice on something else. With McTominay, you get physical presence, desire, but in a defensive, in a position on the ball, useless in terms of playing out from the back. Was better when he was pushed forward. So why then we dropped him back in? We might as well have Fred there if that was gone the case. You might as well have Fred in there. Fred does that job better than McTominay does. So we've ended up with about 4 number 10s again. and we've got wingers out of form, a striker that is very promising and I like the look of, but is a striker that needs to be bedded in slowly.
And he needs
suddenly,
a chance.
There you go. And he needs some build up alongside him. And you can't take him out because you've got Anthony Martial, who's sat there on the biggest paycheck you've ever seen, doing nothing for the past 3 years. So, yeah, tactically, I just don't. Yeah, I don't get it, and that's where a lot of the pressure is coming. Because Ten Hag seems to be saying, "Well, we won the last 3 games. We were awful in all 3 of those games. We haven't won a game this season where we've been good, apart from Palace in the League Cup when he played the second string side. So that the pressure is only going to continue until he can find a way of playing that suits this team."
I mean, do you think he should drop Rashford? I mean, Rashford's gone from 30 goals last season to 1.
Yeah. Rashford is struggling. He seems to be like, just keep doing it until he plays his way into form. But Rashford needs I think he needs a break because he's kind of taking too much on himself and he's trying to be the one-man mission again. And he's
boyfriend.
Is hero boyfriend, as we say in tennis. And he's missing having a Luke Shaw outside of him. Rashford's never been the best at build-up connection play. It's always direct. If you look, he's not the one that's kind of going to sort of create something through passing movement, and he seems to slow the play down. And you could hear it at Old Trafford yesterday when Højlund got taken off instead of Rashford for Garnacho, the frustration, because Fernandes and Rashford seem to play all the time. And at any other club, with the way they've been playing, one or both of them would have been at least dropped or rested or something. But it's just a case of, well, they'll come good eventually. But
you know what they need as well, them type of players, because they feel like they are going to play every game, even if they don't perform. They need a bit of a kick down to reality, don't they? And if you're not going to perform, you're not like playing, you're not starting. And I think that is kind of a problem this season with Manchester United. I think there's certain players, and because they have got obviously a lot of injuries, there is a lot of situations going on. I just think even if you are a name like Bruno Fernandes and you're the captain, or you're Rashford and you were the star man last season, that was last season now. If you're not performing, you get dropped. And I said the same about Saka as well last season, when obviously he went through a little bit of a blip. If you're not performing, if they are tired, then you have to drop them. You've got options there, and it might not work, but Mason Mount can play on the right wing. Like we've seen it at Chelsea before. He can create, like, obviously it might be like obviously be good in the central midfield, but we have seen him creating at Chelsea. And once upon a time at Chelsea, he was their most creative like player.
Well, he was playing all the time.
Yeah, give him a chance on the wing.
All the different managers they had, Mount was playing consistently for Chelsea.
That's where I thought he would put him. I thought he would be putting him out there, and then you can move Bruno more centrally and have a bit more structure in the midfield. And because he had Mount yesterday just chasing shadows, just kind of, it wasn't ideal for Mount coming on in that scenario. But he didn't start the derby. 55 million, 60 million, our first signing that was supposed to be the key to the team, and he's not in the team, tells you enough about maybe the poor recruitment decision we made there. We needed something else, perhaps, if that wasn't the answer.
I mean, and Anthony in the chat is asking Bruno for captain. I mean, for me, it's a no, because I think he's an ass. What do you think, though? Is he the character and the temperament you need for your captain?
Not a Manchester United captain, no. Not what I know as a Manchester United captain. And we haven't really had one properly. If you look back at some of the previous names we've had since, the days of Keane, Neville having it. You had people that were the club, Brian Robson,
Vidic,
an absolute legend.
Nemanja.
People you could rely on. I mean, for me, Bruno Fernandes is technically very good. And there were times yesterday when in difficult situations, actually, he progressed the ball. He's almost the one before the assist or the pass at the minute. There was a lot he did that had we made some better decisions up top, he probably would have got a different view on how that game kind of went. He was poor in the second half, but his mentality is so frustrating. If you think United fans tried to want to defend him because of how good and technically he is, and you think how frustrated and people don't like him when that's your own player, your captain, you know what's going to happen. You know that he's going to start running around like a lunatic. He's going to start trying to kick people. He's going to be whining. He's going to be complaining, and the fans are fed up as it is. And you don't want to see that. But when he's doing that, he's running out of position. He's not running as part of the team. He's running like a lunatic. And if that's the guy you're kind of looking to, that's it's frustrating. But then again, some of that comes down to the leadership and the coaching. If you think this guy is the coaching, the coaches should be, they should know that about the player and the man, and should be sort of saying, look, you're now captain. Can't be having that. Can't be having that. We've got to do this. If we get in a scenario where we're like that, you've got to be the one that everyone else looks to how do we get through this? Because this is a bad experience we're having on the pitch. And then that just spills over, and then you get Anthony coming on doing stupid things as well.
I was going to move on. What was that? Does he want to get sent off? Is he trying? I already think he's an awful footballer. I think he's like Nanny Light. But does he not want to play football? Does he want everyone to? What was he doing?
Well, the problem was, I think about 5 minutes before he came on, they showed a picture of him on the bench and he was shaking his head because he didn't come on, because they brought other players on in front of him, and he was shaking his head. And then you come on, you're thinking, maybe that's why they didn't bring you on, because you couldn't trust you in that scenario not to act like a petulant child. You know, considering this is a man who probably needs to be whiter than white at the minute with the allegations in the background. You don't want to come on and start throwing some violence around. It was just insane. Just insane. It should have been, if it were me and I had a sub left, I'd have taken him straight off again and said, no, you're not playing for a week or two. That's ridiculous. You come on for 2 minutes and try and start a fight. No need. Just,
I mean, I think it's going to take, for me, looking at the squad, it's going to take some ballsy management to turn that around, because you've got some big, because in reality, you think you've got to drop Fernandes, you've got to drop Rashford, you've got to actually play a proper defence. But then what you are doing is relying on your young players and players you haven't bedded in yet.
You've got pressure on some players, like you've got this Kobe Mainu kid, which we're very excited about. But what happens is then the whole fan base will turn towards get Mainu on. And then the pressure on that kid's shoulders becomes insane when he's just starting his Premier League.
He's going to save us.
Yeah, we had the same with Højlund when he came in. It's like, Højlund's here, it'll all be fine. It's bit by bit. I would drop Rashford. I wouldn't drop Rashford and Bruno at the same time. I think I'd try and do one to try and give a bit of consistency. I'd play Bruno more centrally. I'd stick Mount out on the right. I'd start Garnacho. I mean, the EFL Cup we've got against Newcastle, there should be some changes anyway because it's the EFL Cup. But I would go for a bit of that, try and get a bit of consistency. And then he did it last season with Rashford when he was late. He stuck him on the bench and he came off the bench and scored twice, and that kick-started his season, if we remember last year. That might happen. So you might need to try those things. Or play a different formation. How many times have we played 4-2-3-1 over the last 10 years and it's not been working? Do something else. Might not work, but at least it's a change. It's something different.
Bless your little heart. I mean, look in the chat saying, I'd be very worried if I was a Man United fan. It's mainly on the pitch. They're just wasting money and talent on the pitch and not use them as such as Martial and Sancho. And there's something going on behind the scenes. And that's my worry. Is there's something. It's the club, isn't it? There's a serious.
It's a serious issue.
Problems.
Rotten's the exact right word. I mean, so yesterday, Gary Neville and Carragher were arguing because they love to argue all the time on Sky, but they were both right in their own way. Yeah, Carragher was saying, yeah, but the stuff on the pitch with the manager, with what you've got now, should be better. Completely right. But Neville's also right. The stuff behind the scenes, how can you have a conducive culture and everything that's going on and where we're driving forward? This is why Ten Hag out doesn't make any sense to me at the minute, because you're just going to put some other poor sod in this absolute cauldron of mess. We don't know what's going on with the ownership thing, which has now been going on for another 3 weeks. When it does come out, the guy's got 25%. He can't slag the Glazers off because they're still his partners. So he's going to have to sort of go, well, yeah, I'm going to sort of work with them and it's all going to be fine. And the fans are not going to like that. So that's going to turn. The roof's bloody a mess. Leaking.
It's just everything, isn't it?
Terrible. The guys that are in charge of the recruitment, the last 3 transfer windows in the summer, we've panicked at the end, overspent, we're in trouble with FFP. We're in debt. Awful.
I mean, it is. I mean, if you look at the managers you've had, I mean, Van Gaal, Ten Hag, Jose Mourinho. Who was the other one? There was another big name you had whose name escapes me.
Well, we had Solskjaer, then Ranić, didn't we? We had that kind of period as well. So and each of which the cycle's been the same.
Yeah.
We've had the first season where you're like, they get a bit of money, you start to see a step, and then we have this second season where it all starts to fall apart. The players seem to throw their toys out the pram, and everything starts to disappear. And the same's happening again and again and again. And it can't just be the manager and that set of players, because this is a decade.
It can't be all of the managers, can it? It can't be all managers are the problem at Manchester United. We just can't be managed. It's almost like the only answer is to just delete everything and start again. Players, owners, managers,
contracts, everything else like that. You need a bit of that. But the other thing, we can't get players out the club. They tried it in the summer as well. They were all on ridiculously stupid contracts. They don't go anywhere. Couldn't get rid of, like, okay, Maguire's played well last couple of games. Maguire wouldn't move, be able to get rid of him. We've had people like Martial hanging around for God knows how long. People that have been just hanging on for far too long.
Hanging on for too long. That's a song, I'm sure it is. I mean, Charlotte, before we move on, do you have any words that could uplift Sam? Something form of encouragement or positivity that you think you can look forward to? Because I don't.
We're the reigning champions of the EFL Cup for at least 24 hours. How about that?
Exactly.
God bless. Oh, Rebecca, anything positive you want to give Sam? It could be worse.
Everton are in a very similar situation.
There you go. You're not alone.
At least you're not a Rochdale fan.
There you go. That's a hat
make you feel better.
Misery loves company. But if it's any solace to you, though, my team won 3-0.
We'll skip over that one. I'm joking, go on.
But the rest of the results we didn't cover was Aston Villa, another fantastic performance against Luton, winning 3-1. Very battling performance from Fulham to have it 1-1 against Brighton and Hove Albion. As I mentioned, Liverpool, very good performance against Nottingham Forest. And of course, all of our thoughts with Luis Diaz and his family at the moment. Horrible situation.
That's awful. That's awful.
It's not nice. It's really not nice. And, all we can do is just send thoughts and prayers out to Luis Diaz and his family at this time. And the other games we didn't cover as well was Bournemouth. We'd covered Bournemouth. Wolverhampton drove in 2-2 with Newcastle, which was a bit of a shocker. If we had more time.
Some good stuff, to be fair, Wolves. They've been playing some good stuff recently, to be fair.
Pedro Neto went off injured, though, which for them is
Oh,
massive.
no.
It looked like a really bad hamstring injury. That's really bad for Wolves. He's been fantastic.
That's something I need to remember for my FPL. Well done for bringing that up. That's something for me to forget and not change later on. And I think Anthony said the penalty Newcastle got against Wolves was a complete joke. That was a good one, wasn't it?
Awful. It's absolutely awful. And this is my rant on VAR this week. Can we show the bloody incidents at full time? The full speed. This slowing it down nonsense. It's like frame by frame. It's like just show the incident as it happens.
Do you know what? I quite like the fact that you saw him fall for no reason, though. That was just awesome. Just, here we go now.
The legs together, kind of like, oh.
Yeah, like, what's it? Silly Salmon. If you don't know what reference I'm making, go into YouTube.
He plays for Burnley,
type in Silly Salmon. I tell honestly, clip this, Silly Salmon. You won't regret it. Get onto YouTube after this. Not now. When we finish, Silly Salmon, go to YouTube, and that's exactly what they look like. But yeah, it was very dodgy call. But if only a big team would speak out against VAR and demanded improvements in officiating, and I'm sure everyone would get behind them and not mock them and give them loads of grief.
I think we all did until you started mentioning replays, if I recall. I think we were all behind that decision after the Tottenham game, and then all of a sudden the replay
that wasn't mentioned. That wasn't mentioned until someone said the clock. Do you think we should have a replay? So, well, if you're going to ask me, well, yeah, obviously, every game I lose, I want to replay them all until I win. I want to save scum and just quit and reload the game again. But that weekend does leave Tottenham Hotspur top of the league on 26 points, followed by Arsenal on 24 and Manchester United you wish, Manchester City in third position on 24 points, and Liverpool, they're propping up fourth position on 23 with Aston Villa, Charlotte's prediction for fifth, Aston Villa in fifth doing Charlotte very proud. She's a woman in the know. Do not doubt this lady, apart from when it comes to the relegation zone, where Sheffield United are 20th, Burnley are 19th, and Luton are 18th. But Charlotte is still confident.
It's
Luton
a
have got
marathon,
something.
not a sprint. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It is indeed, and they could make it. And Mr. Luke saying he would like Everton to go down so he could see them play in the second tier for the first time with his life. Isn't that mean, Rebecca? Tell him you don't appreciate that.
We'd have the best ground in the championship, though.
That's true.
If it happens.
But that is the Premier League, which moves us on nicely to a happier note for Mr. Sam, the La Liga.
It is La Liga. I can be happy again now because, we can't lose over there. We've never lost in the Liga. Unbeaten in La Liga, Manchester United. It was El Clasico this weekend. El Clasico. Barcelona, Real Madrid, the one that we all look for as the first El Clasico of the season. And it was the players that were signed in the summer that did the business, because Ilkay Gundogan scored his first goal for Barcelona in the 6th minute. Big game player, Mr. Gundogan, of course. Always used to score in the City big ones, didn't he?
Big game layer.
Got his first goal for Barca, and they were looking. It was a fairly even game, fairly interesting, and both teams did kind of go for it a little bit. But then the man, Mr. Brilliant, Jude Bellingham, who, of course, according to all reports last summer, was rooming with Jordan Henderson about this time at Liverpool. Best of buds they were, as they were off to the World Cup last season. That's where they go. No, he's at the Bernabeu. This time he was at the Nou Camp. Absolutely spanking it. First goal, 30 yards out. Screamer. Absolute screamer. And then in the 92nd minute, a close range volley. And there you go. 13 goals in 13 appearances. Jude Bellingham, Real Madrid, 2-1. They beat Barcelona. Outrageous. He's outrageous. He's quite good, isn't he, Josh?
He's not bad. He's no McAllister.
Not McAllister. He's not McAllister, you're right. Gary McAllister either. And not just so Real Madrid, that puts them top, but of course Atletico Madrid, they're on an impressive run themselves. Simeone's boys have now won 6 on the trot in La Liga. Alvaro Morata's on the score sheet. I think he's got like 6 this season now. In the 2-1 win over Alaves. Real Betis scored in injury time with Isco against Osasuna at home, so they picked themselves up a nice little 2-1 win. And it was big-time draws. Uno, dos, tres, a trio of Desmonds that we had in La Liga this weekend. Rayo Vallecano, the wannabe Volcanoes, scored in injury time to rescue a draw against Real Sociedad. The score, 2-2. Athletic Bilbao scored an injury time equaliser themselves 7 minutes into stoppage time against Valencia to draw 2-2. And Sevilla found themselves 2-0 down to Cadiz away for Lucas Ocampos, and Ivan Rakitic pulled it back to draw 2-2. So lovely 2-2 draws everywhere there. There was another draw as Mallorca and Getafe were goalless, which looked to be the case for not my Girona or your Girona, but our Girona, as they headed into injury time at 0-0 against Celta Vigo before Yangel Herrera with an outside of the box rasper, absolute rasper in the bottom corner, putting Girona now second level on points with Real Madrid with a 1-0 victory. So they are still in it. They're still up there. They're still battling away. But Atletico Madrid have got some nice games coming up too. And I think they play Barcelona in the early part of December. So La Liga's looking quite exciting this year.
You've got to love a bit of Girona. Look at that. Well, let's just all enjoy that at the moment. Level on points with Real Madrid 11 games into the league. That's just beautiful. That is just beautiful. That takes over to Serie A. Now, we haven't had a write-up for Serie A this week, so I don't know what the hell has gone on there other than there's some football was played in Italy over this weekend. Shall we have a little look? Let's all take a look together to see what's happened, because I don't know what happened.
I'll talk about that top one if you like. I'll talk about the top one.
Tell us, Sam.
Because in that top one, I don't think Calgary have won at home all season. Frosinone were 3-0 up. They were 2-0 up at half-time, 3-0 up after 65 minutes. and Calgary scored twice, and I think their equaliser came in like 90+4 or something, and
Wow.
then scored again in 90+. Unbelievable, that game, apparently. And there are more goals in that game than the rest of Serie A by the looks of it as well.
I was gonna say it was a very boring. I mean, the one result I was aware of was Inter Milan beating Roma 1-0 to maintain their position at the top of the league. Marcus Thuram, the player that Lukaku bossed his way out of Inter Milan. He didn't want to be. They did want to be at Chelsea. Ended up at Roma, and the replacement they brought in at Inter, Marcus Thuram, scored the only goal in the 81st minute to give them the win for them to remain at the top of the league. And to be fair, as Sam said, pretty boring. All the other games were pretty boring. One that showed up today that isn't on there was Atalanta won 3-0 against Empoli. So there was some goals, but other than that, it's Inter Milan remain at the top, followed by Juventus, which of whom they are 2 points ahead, with AC Milan in third place on 21 points, Napoli on 17, and Fiorentina on 17. Look how tight that is. What's that? There is just 1 point between everybody, right the way down until 15th position. So if you win a game, isn't that exciting? The movement that you can make, and that's Serie A. Not much more on that, but hopefully Lucas will be back with us soon, and that will be. Normal service will then be resumed. But here we are, the lady, the myth, the legend. Charlotte is going to tell us all about the Scottish Professional Football League.
Yeah, so Hibs 0, Celtic 0. So an absolutely lower league, if anybody watches it, we do have a rule where we don't talk about 0-0s because they're just boring, aren't they? So, yeah, I'll just tell you all that Celtic are still top on 26 points. They are 5 points in front of Rangers. Hibs are 8th on 10 points. But the rest of the games did have goals. So we have Livingston 0, Dundee 2. Dundee dominated game, but it wasn't until Livingston midfielder Christian Montano was red carded that they finally managed to score goals. A late Shaughnessy double secured the 3 points for Dundee. They are now 5th in the league, and Livingston have dropped to 9th after the loss. Motherwell 3, Ross County 3. A lot of goals in that one. And despite being a game of goals for both sides, they didn't come until the second half. Ross County broke the deadlock first when Eamon Brophy, I think he's called. Brophy? God, he is now. Scored 8 minutes later. They were 2 up when Simon Murray got the second goal of the game for the away side. Motherwell then got the chance to get back into the game thanks to Mike. Can't say his name, so I'm not even going to attempt it. Mike, we'll call him Big Mike. Converted from the penalty spot. Victor Latore thought he'd won all 3 points for Ross County in the 83rd minute, but then 2 late goals from Connor Wilkinson and defender Max Ross confirmed Motherwell's comeback, and the points were shared in Scotland. Motherwell are 6th and Ross County are unfortunately 11th, but they are 5 points clear of the bottom spot. St Mirren 4, St Johnstone 0. A game that really does prove that no matter how much possession and goal attempts you have, it doesn't always get you the win. St Johnstone had 54% of the ball, 14 goal attempts, but it wasn't good enough. Keanu Bacchus scored in the first half to put St Mirren 1-0 up, and then 3 minutes into the second half, Mikhail Mandron added another. Then it just went from bad to worse for the away side when he scored his second in the 70th minute. Just before the final whistle, Greg Kilty then added a 4th. St Mirren are in 3rd place, so on 18 points, just 3 behind Rangers. And poor St Johnstone, they are bottom on 4 points, 5 points adrift. Kilmarnock 2, Aberdeen 0. I don't know if any of you have been watching this, but the man I've mentioned literally every week covering the Scottish League scored again. Kyle Vassell added to his goal tally for the season. Kilmarnock went into half-time, obviously a goal up because of him. Then Marley Watkins added a second in the 64th minute to secure the win for the home side. Kilmarnock are 4th on 13 points. Aberdeen are 10th on 9 points. And the final game, Rangers 2, Hearts 1. Hearts actually took the lead really early in the 5th minute. Lauren Shanklin scored, and then Rangers were awarded a penalty just before the halftime whistle, which James Tavernier actually missed. Not like him at all. But then he got to redeem himself with the fans in the 90th minute. Bearing in mind, Hearts are 1-0 up. In the 90th minute, he converts a penalty. And then in the 90 plus 3rd minute, he assists Danilo. And obviously, then Rangers get the win. So, yeah, it's a brilliant win for them. And the confidence is just massively growing each and every week now, obviously, since he departed with the manager. And they are second now on 21 points. And Hearts dropped down to 7th. That's everything.
And it was a controversial, apparently, penalty that second on the 90th minute for a shirt pull from a corner. But you got to love that. You got to love that.
Got it.
Yeah, you just got to. But that brings us on to the Bundesliga, which I'm thoroughly enjoying at the moment. Lots of goals this week, lots and lots of goals and red cards. There was not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 red cards in the Bundesliga. 6 red cards. Where to start? Well, I suppose there's only one place I should start, and that was Bayern Munich 8, Darmstadt 0. And no goals in the first half. An 8-0 victory. No goals in the first half. But what did happen in the first half was it was Manuel Neuer's first game in 360 days for Bayern Munich. Manuel Neuer is back, and in the 4th minute, Darmstadt were making an attack into the box. Neuer was getting all excited, thinking, "I'm going to touch the ball," and Kimmich floors the striker and gets sent off in the 4th minute. And then, not to be outdone, though, Darmstadt in the 21st minute had their player sent off, and then, for good measure, 20 minutes later, had another player sent off, because 9 men against 10 men, that's the place you want to be. One playing away at Munich. But then it was, I was going to say our friend Harry Kane with a hat-trick of goals, including he found his inner Beckham as he scored from inside his own half. His second goal in the 69th minute. What a wonderful minute to score. What a wonderful goal to score. What a wonderful place for Harry Kane to be. But Leroy Sané, a legend target for Liverpool, scored 2 goals. And Jamal Musiala didn't score his first league goal, but he scored 2 of his first league goals in the game. And Thomas Muller, old Grandad Muller, not to be outdone, he also chucked a goal in just for good measure. 8-0, 8 goals in the second half. What a place that would have been. But it wasn't the only place to find goals. RB Leipzig won 6-0 against Cologne, who had a player sent off in the 80th minute, just for good measure. The goals was opened by, believe it or not, this made me chuckle, Leipzig's all-time top goal scorer, Timo Werner.
Wow.
That's right. Chelsea legend Timo Werner scored a penalty in the 15th minute to become Leipzig all-time goal scorer. Then Lewis Openda scoring 2 goals in the 40th, and David Raum on the 43rd minute, and Benjamin Sesko on the 88th minute. And then I can't say this name, Christoph Baumgartner on the 91st minute. Baumgartner. You got it down with the boom on the 91st minute, just for good measure. Why not make it 6, eh? Why not? And that put Leipzig a 6-0 victory against Cologne. Some of the other exciting games with Dortmund, who've been struggling all season, only managed a 3-3 draw against Eintracht Frankfurt, who scored in the 8th minute and the 24th minute, before Dortmund came back on extra time with Marcel Sabitzer in the 46th minute. And then Moukoko scored in the 54th, only for a 3rd goal for Frankfurt by Chaibi in the 68th minute, and Julian Bond who seems to be scoring, the only person really scoring with consistency for Dortmund in the 82nd minute. Dortmund struggling. They're fourth, they're getting points, but the performances just, they've not been brilliant. They've not been having the pass accuracy, the number of passes, unless they're finishing. As I said the other week, who would have thought replacing Haaland would have been so difficult? A game that will make us all sad. Union Berlin can't find a win. They're in the bin. Isn't it a sin? They're losing 2-0 against Werder Bremen. And the last season, they were leading. Who would have thought they were leading the Bundesliga this time last season? And now they're literally 3 points off rock bottom of the Bundesliga. They lost 2-0 with an own goal in the 30th minute. And then Werder Bremen scored in the 75th. That was sad. It's sad to see Union Berlin suffer that way, and perhaps it must have been a one-season wonder. Another game, what was the other game that made me sad? Was Augsburg versus Wolfsburg. Augsburg won 3-2 against Wolfsburg. The thing that made me the saddest about this game, I won't go into too much detail on this because we need to go home this evening, but a guy whose name I can't say, Sebastian Bornau, was brought on as a substitute while Wolfsburg were 2-1 ahead. He accidentally scored an own goal within about 5 minutes of coming on the pitch, and then Augsburg scored a third goal and they lost. So it wasn't a very good substitution. That hurt my heart. I felt a little bit sorry for him. Was there any other games? I wonder. Was there any other games that we would like to talk about? Well, just because I like to say,
let's move on.
There were two teams whose names I love to say, Borussia Mönchengladbach and Heidenheim, played each other. That was a 2-1 victory for Borussia Mönchengladbach against Heidenheim. But yes, it's the game. You know you want to see it, Charlotte. You know you want to hear it. It's your friend and mine. He's mighty fine. Xavi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen victorious again with a 2-1 victory against Freiburg. Oh, it was wonderful. What a game. Florian Wirtz. Don't really know who he is. What a game he had. The 36 minute, an absolute wonder goal. I think he was on the edge of the box. It was like one of those Ronaldinho clips where he was just making the defender look silly, where he took him to the left, the defender fell over, he waited for the defender to get up, then took it to the right, then to the left, the defender fell over twice, and then he dribbled through the box past another two players to score on the 36th minute. He was absolutely superb. And then Jonas Hoffman scoring in the 60th minute, never Florian Wirtz assist. This time taking the ball all the way down the wing by himself. What a play. He was absolutely superb. But 71% possession for Leverkusen, just dominating the game. And they're still there. They're 25 points, 2 points in lead in Bayern Munich at the top of the table. And well done, Sam, last week for going through every single league position. I did laugh my little heart out when I was writing it, thinking he's going to have to read all of this. And bless your heart, he did it. And he did it ever so well. But Bayer Leverkusen still leading the Bundesliga. 2 points ahead of Bayern Munich, who are 2 points ahead of Stuttgart, who are level on points with Borussia Dortmund, who are 1 point ahead of RB Leipzig, who are 2 points ahead of Hoffenheim, who are 4 points ahead of Eintracht Frankfurt, who are 1 point ahead of Freiburg, who are 1 point ahead of Wolfsburg, who are 1 point ahead of Augsburg, who are 2 points ahead of Mönchengladbach, who are level on points with Werder Bremen, who are 2 points ahead of Heidenheim, who are 2 points with Darmstadt, who are 1 point ahead of Union Berlin, who are 1 point ahead of Bochum, who are 1 point ahead of Cologne, who are 1 point ahead of Mainz, who prop up the Bundesliga.
It was like you were commentating on horse racing or something.
and in the chat, Steve saying he hopes Leverkusen topple Bayern. I keep the Slytherin sloth egotist, a Kane without the title. That would be wonderful. Harry Kane moves.
Wouldn't it be amazing if Leverkusen win the Bundesliga and Spurs win the Premier League?
That would just be magic. I mean, I haven't been following the Eredivisie. Not much has really been happening, apart from, interestingly, so Ajax, rock bottom of the table, losing again. And we've just lost Rebecca. Where's she gone? Nobody knows. But let PSV beat Ajax 5-2. Ajax have decided now to bring in a manager on a temporary contract till the end of the season. At the end of the season, he's going to become technical director when they put a new manager in place. Sam, what does that sound like?
I don't know. Can't comment.
That works fabulously well, as we know. And Luke say, look at the state that Ajax, what a mess here. They are indeed. Ajax, 5 points. They've won 1 game out of 8 so far. That is frightening. They're not even in the relegation playoff. They are right at the bottom. The PSV lead in the Eredivisie with AZ Alkmaar in second place and FC Twente and Feyenoord in third and fourth. And Go Ahead Eagles just outside, 8 points behind. So the top 4 are very tight up there. I don't think this is Ajax's season to be winning the Eredivisie. And it takes over the Ligue 1, where, to be honest with you, very disappointing scenes in Ligue 1 this weekend. I'm trying to find the game. I know the team. I'm just trying to see who they play. But Lyon, I haven't got it on there. Lyon,
Marseille, didn't they?
Yes, they were attacked by Marseille, and the manager was an absolute mess. I think they attacked. The manager was smashed with items, had to go to hospital. What is going on? French fans, don't be silly. Speaking of fans being silly as well, something I did mean to mention earlier, to the Manchester United fan who wanted to throw a coin at Haaland for scoring a goal against your football team, don't be a loser. Football fans, don't be a loser, please, all football fans. But something that is nice is Nice are ahead of Paris Saint-Germain, who are in third position in Ligue 1 as Monaco. Monaco leading it is like stepping back in time a couple of years. Monaco at the top of Ligue 1 with Nice in second, the Paris Saint-Germain in third, and Brest are in fourth position. But Clermont's foot are at the bottom, and so are Lyon. Lyon still without the win as well. Scary, scary times. And that brings us to the end of all of our European football. And Luke is right. He is a mess. And I missed Stu's comment as well, saying Boniface is outscoring Kane. Would be funny too. Jamie Redknapp, I've always rated Boniface, you know. They're all doing very well. Bundesliga is a place to be, but the real place to be is here with us at the Absolute Football Podcast. I did want to explain to you why Rebecca was here, but she's gone. So
she's just messaged me. She said she's so sorry. She's got bad weather, so a Wi-Fi is just completely cut out.
No.
She's panicking,
sad.
Bless her. So I said, "Don't worry." I said, "Don't honestly, just chill. It's fine."
It's happened before. I mean, you could. I think Charlotte had to change for the exact same reason. Was that last week?
Your
week. Internet kicked
remember
you
that
out.
week ages ago when my mum never phones me, and I had to go on my phone because my laptop weren't working, and she phoned me for the first time ever, and I was like, "No."
So Rebecca, don't worry, it happens to all of us, but it was really great to have Rebecca with us. Thank you for joining us. And Rebecca, we are believing it's going to be part of our team, our new WSL team. Keep your eyes peeled for that over the next couple of weeks. It'll be dropping, hopefully, over the next few podcasts. We might be having random members of the WSL team onto our main podcast so you can get introduced to them. But thank you for joining us, for Rebecca. If you want to follow her, I cannot remember her YouTube, her Twitter. What is her Twitter handle, Shah?
I've got it up. So it's _Rebecca_Shaw_. So please follow her. And she is actually her Game 2 advocate for Accrington Stanley as well. So definitely show her some support because she's great. And she's actually doing it as part of her university work as well. So yeah, she's brilliant. She does a lot for females in football.
Super. So please do follow her and be nice with Spice. And geez, is she giving it a go? Are you going to brave it? We've just told everyone how wonderful you are.
You appeared like magic, just as the right time.
I quickly run downstairs with my computer and run back up.
No, but no fear at all. We were just saying that Charlotte's already dropped your handle. She's already told us about your her Game 2 advocate for Accrington. Is that the team? I've forgotten already. Tell us where can people find you? Remind us again, Rebecca. Where can people find you should they want to follow you? Because they should do.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. So my Instagram, I think, is Rebecca_Shaw28, and then Twitter _Rebecca_Shaw_. Not the easiest ones, but
all the underscores. But you can find it then, as we've said. Rebecca's going to be supporting us on our WSL podcast, which we are very, very excited about. Are you looking forward to that, Rebecca?
Yes. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
So make sure you show her all of the love and give her a wonderful follow and nice comments. And speaking of nice comments, Charlotte, if people want to send nice comments to you, the nicest lady on Twitter, where can they find you? Where are you?
Well, I was most active on Twitter. I'm currently taking a Twitter break unless it's podcast stuff. You can find me. I'm SharaXRFC on that, Instagram, TikTok, Fred, but I have no idea what I'm doing with Fred, so I do apologise. People might be nicer on that, but some might start using it. And you can obviously catch me on Thursday for Absolutely Lower League. You can find out where Claire's been. I'm actually talking about a Rochdale win as well, so that will be fun. And I think it's me, Claire, and Nick this week, so should be a fun one. Always is a fun one.
Mr. Luke in the chat, he cannot wait for the Absolute Lower League, but can we skip Saturday's National League results because he lost 4-0? Cap Alid is looking forward 2-0 to Thursday, and Shawnee is saying the trolls, we all love you, Shah. And for anybody that is watching, don't be an asshole. As polite as you can. Charlotte's there's nothing wrong with Charlotte. You don't have to be mean, and so just stop it. Stop being an asshole. Be nice. In the words of Claire, don't be a dick. And Sam, if people want more Sam in their lives and they're not going to be a dick, where can they find you?
Where can you find me? You can find me on Up the FM Ducks on X, trying to be positive, despite the fact that my team are absolute turd at the minute. I will try and remain as positive as I can be on there. So yeah, on X, on TikTok, dropping some stuff, and Instagram, and yeah, other stuff will be on the pod. And probably at some point this week, I need to sit down and come up with a new Where's Claire. So that's what's next on my agenda
so
for you all on Thursday. So I've got some ideas, but they're up here and they need to go in there. So forward to that.
Superb times. And Cap Alice thing, we are all class. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you, sir. And if you want to follow me for reasons which I can't comprehend, maybe to have a rational debate and not be personally abusive, I am also on Twitter, because I refuse to say X, on Twitter at FMFO_official. That is where I am, and that is where I'll be and where I shall stay for now. But the big thing is, if you are watching us live on YouTube, catching up on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. It's totally free, and it would be really lovely, and it would make us happy if you would do so. But you can find us on Twitter at Absolute Football Pod, on YouTube at Absolute Football Podcast, the same thing on Twitch, and on TikTok, boom, we are at Absolute Football Pod, and Instagram and Threads, although no one knows how to use it, is Absolute Football Podcast _ and the Absolute Football Podcast on Facebook. This needs to be updated again. Sam's had to update this once as well, Thursday correctly. Now we're going to be at 8:30, so that needs to be done again. But
you wait till the lower league, the WSL comes out, and I've got to put another one on there as well.
My days, yeah, we could do it all in one hit, but I wanted to change it every single week just for laughs. But thank you to everybody for watching us today. Thank you for all of your kind words. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being so lovely. Thank you for interacting. Oh, we've got a competition. Sam, what is this competition before
we have got a competition? Yeah, I don't have the graphic with me, but do check out on our Twitter X at the moment, because there is the possibility to win a beanie hat or a cap. I think we have another week left on the competition. So what you need to do is you need to go on our profile, find the tweet that's on there, and we need you to follow us. Follow Footy Fits as well. They're the ones that are giving this free item away. Give us a little retweet so that everyone can sort of see that we're in this competition. And you need to subscribe to the YouTube. That is key. And that will get you in. And then we will announce it, I think, on next Monday's podcast. That we will announce who the winner's going to be for a free beanie hat or cap.
It's going to be me on all my burner accounts because I love a good hat.
So don't be silly. Don't be silly and enter to win a free beanie hat. It's getting cold. It is winter. It's getting cold. If you're follically challenged like me, a beanie hat is an absolute godsend. So God willing, I will win this one. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rebecca, for joining us. Sam and Charlotte, thank you for all of your diligent work. You are both just wonderful, and I love you dearly as my own children. Everybody have a lovely evening. Look after yourselves. Lots of love. TTFN.